Hello everyone, dmgashbad here, trying to finish up the year strong with a Mordheim battle report. We had a little Mordheim campaign going for a while, but unfortunately things got busy and we never quite got back to it. Found out the guy had subsequently dismantled that warband to use for other projects. I'm still in contact with him, so we still might get another game in. But for now I found a new victim. It was my opponent from the Warhammer The Old World game that I just played. I won't go into the details, but I did manage to convince him to make up a Mordheim warband real quick and get in a couple of games. Very nice of him to go and do that. But first of all, my warband, the heroes of the match. I'm using an Averlanders gang for the first time. The Briar Walkers, led by Captain Rutger Pentecost, there in the middle with his dagger, bow, and sword. He is flanked by two of my heroes, the Jaegers. One is Bjork Hansen, the other is Trevo Kadinovsky. Both of them are armed with longbows, hammers, and daggers. Jaegers are kind of cool. They're specialty hunter archers, they have ballistic skill 4, weapon skill 2, and they have the ability to set traps. If they don't do anything else in a turn, they can put down a trap marker. Anyone moving within 2 inches of that marker, besides the Jaeger himself, has to roll a d6 on a 3+, they take a strength 4 hit. Then the trap marker is removed. To the right we have Sergeant Kasich with his sword and axe, and to the left we have my youngblood, Klaus Beckett with his dagger and club. For henchmen, we have a single halfling, that's the shot pot, armed with a bow and dagger. We have 2 mountain guard, those are just regular warriors with weapon skill 4, they're equipped with shields and swords. And then the main reason for taking the Averlanders. I took 2 marksmen with blunderbusses and clubs. Those are Cherno's alphas. If you're not familiar, blunderbusses are just amazing. I believe Averlanders are the only ones that can have them as just part of their standard equipment. They can only shoot once per game, but the shot is a 16-inch long, 1-inch wide line, and anyone underneath it is automatically hit for a strength 3 hit. Never got to use these in a game of Mordheim, have had to face these from time to time. They're just a giant pain. My opponent, the brave man that he is going with Cult of the Possessed. I always considered the cult to be a challenging warband to set up in the beginning. You always want to take your 5 heroes, but the heroes in Cult are really expensive. And if you want to make them good with their mutations, you have to pay all that up front. You can't buy it later. I like what my opponent has done here. I don't remember all the equipment that he's set up. The warband is led by a magister who has the Dark Blood spell. That's the 8-inch range, difficulty 8 spell that causes D3 strength 5 hits. But then the magister goes and rolls on the injury table, treating any out-of-action results as a stunned result. He has 2 possessed, one with a scorpion tail and one with a great claw. The scorpion tail one is the chaos houndish looking guy, and the great claw one is the giant spawn model. And then he has 2 mutants, both with the black blood mutation. That's the one where if they take a wound, then anyone in base contact also takes a strength 3 hit. So we got his full complement of 5 heroes. He got 2 good possessed that will do pretty well throughout the campaign, but that's it. No shooting, no extra bodies, all killer, no filler. Here you see the board all set up and ready to play. We're doing the skirmish scenario, which is absolutely fine for a first game. No special rules, just we fight until one person breaks or dies. Every time I go to play Mordheim, I swear I bring tons of terrain. I feel like this will have no problem filling up a 4x4 board, and then I get it out on the table and realize I should have brought even more. That's my bad, I'll know for next time. We both went for a fairly no-nonsense central deployment. He's got his Magister and the 2 possessed on the left, and he's got his 2 mutants on the right. I deployed in a big blob on the bottom middle. I've got a Jaeger and a blunderbuss guy on each of my flanks, and then in the center I've got my sergeant, I got my leader, I got my halfling, and I got the youngblood and the swordsman. First turn goes to the Cult of the Possessed, and they make a cautious advance. The claw-possessed hides behind the shack in the center. The mutants creep forward on the left. The tail-possessed is going on a flanking maneuver off to my opponent's right, and his magister is moving in towards that big building. On the Averlander turn, my guys start spreading out. I send my hand-to-hand troops, the mountain guard, the youngblood, and the sergeant forward to try and intercept some charges. A Jaeger and a blunderbuss stay put, guarding against the possessed trying to flank around my left. And the rest of my shooting troops just kind of spread out and take potshots where they can, but we don't cause any damage this first turn. Round 2 for the possessed, and the guys in the center just kind of take cover for the time being. The Magister makes it up to the 2nd floor of the big building, and the tail-possessed continues his flanking maneuver. In the Averlander turn, I do more of the same. The rightmost blunderbuss and the halfling go on a flanking maneuver of their own. The majority of my mob just continued to creep forward in formation, and Trevo the Bergjaeger and the other blunderbuss continue to guard my left flank. Again, shooting doesn't accomplish anything, and we're back to the possessed. By now, the tail possessed has cleared the left 2 buildings and is looking at my forces on my left flank, while the remainder of his forces gather up in some sort of ambush or something in the center. Averlander turn, and I'm not scared of them. I mean, I am kind of, but I'm pretending that I'm not. My melee troops continue to press forward. I want to lure this center possessed into a charge where I can countercharge him. Is that a good idea? I don't know. We'll find out. The halfling and the blunderbuss continue to creep around on the right. Captain Pentecost gets out of line of sight of the possessed, but Trevo the Bergjaeger and the other blunderbuss, they're going to combine forces. They're going to team up over there, and the Bergjaeger is going to set a trap. I had told my opponent that I was very unlikely to set a trap during the course of the game. I just didn't see it being very useful. But here I want to discourage this monster from coming to eat me, so I'm going to do it. I also believe I fire with the blunderbuss against the tail possessed, but don't do any damage. I'm kind of thinking this guy might not be long for the world one way or the other. No other shooting damage, and we're back to the possessed. Well, it's go time for the forces of chaos. Can't fool the cunning animal on the left. He decides to back the other direction and go after my center. Doesn't like the looks of that trap that I just set. The big possessed charges straight into one of my Blackfire brawlers. Good luck, guy. That weapon skill 4 of yours is going to get put to the test. The mutants both advance, taking cover where they can, and the Magister goes out on the bridge in the center of the field. He may have attempted to use his spell on the Blackfire brawler that was charged by the possessed, but if he was in range, he didn't manage to beat the casting roll. So in the hand-to-hand combat phase, the possessed gets to strike first. 2 attacks at weapon skill 4 with a strength of 4, and 1 with that big claw of his at strength 5. The shield isn't going to help my guy at all, so he's going to use his sword and dagger. But it doesn't matter because the possessed causes no damage. My guy really lucks out. Doesn't cause any damage back, but still, good for him. Well, this was the moment that I was waiting for. I'm having my center just all team up against this one possessed. This is my best shot at taking one of these guys down. So I declare a charge with my other Blackfire Brawler, my Youngblood Klaus Beckett, and Sergeant Kasich. The Blackfire Brawler doesn't manage to pass his leadership test for the fear the possessed causes, even with my leader being nearby, but my Youngblood and Kasich do manage to make it into the fray. Trevo Kaidanovsky abandons the trap that he set and moves back towards the center, but my blunderbuss guy is stuck there. If he moves, he's going to set off the trap. Oops, he kind of just has to chill for the rest of the battle. Not a lot of movement from the rest of my guys. We're going to go off to the shooting phase, though. First thing first, my opponent had lost track of my rightmost blunderbuss. One of Cherno's alphas has lined up an absolutely beautiful shot, didn't even need to move, hitting both of the mutants through the ruins of that church. He knocks down the first mutant and takes out the other. Fantastic. Acid blood isn't going to hurt me when I just blast you with a bunch of nails. There's a bunch of bowfire from my leader and the other Bergjaeger against the Magister. None of it hits home, but Shot Pot the Halfling. Perfect shot, hits, wounds, out of actions the Magister. He tumbles off of the bridge into the field below. I had told my opponent that shooting in Mordheim just doesn't do a whole lot, and for, like 3 rounds I was absolutely right, and then it all comes together at once. And then my opponent gets absolutely no reprieve in the hand-to-hand combat phase. The Youngblood comes in and just murders the possessed with a crit. That'll be a nice bonus XP for him. He's going to get advance at the end of the game. And that's really all you can do. My opponent only has 2 models remaining. One of them is knocked down. He's going to go ahead and rout. Absolutely brutal start to Mordheim. You kind of sometimes expect that kind of thing with a gang like Possessed who have sort of a slow start. But it's like all the bad luck that I had in the Old World Battle Report just sort of snapped back into place, and I just had that absolutely lethal turn there. You know what? I will take it. For the Briar Walkers, we've got no casualties, so no rolls on the injury roll. We have 1 advance with the Youngblood. He gets a new skill. I'm going to go ahead and give him Sprint, add a little movement to my gang. We get to roll 6 dice in the exploration phase. I end up with 4 shards of Weirdstone. I sell 3 of them for 60 gold. I also find a hovel and a corpse, I believe. End up with another 6 gold and an axe. My opponent only has 2 heroes to search the ruins and only ends up with 1 shard of Weirdstone. Can sell that for a fair amount of coin, though. He does buy himself a Brethren, I believe. So he does have a henchman on the field for the next game. Injury rolls don't go great, however. The mutant is fine, but his possessed gets captured. I just return him to the gang for no charge. My opponent had a rough first game. Killing off a possessed right in the beginning would have just crippled the gang. Didn't need to do that. Maybe we didn't tie him up real well. Maybe he's a shapeshifter and he convinced us that he was actually an innocent. Whatever the reason, the possessed returns to the warband with no ill effects. The Magister, however, goes and gets sold to the pits. So he has to fight a pit fighter. Roll up to see who gets to strike first. The pit fighter does. Absolutely demolishes the poor Magister. That wasn't a very long fight. Another roll on the injury chart for the Magister. I think he may have ended up with multiple injuries, but the only thing he got out of it was +1 experience. All in all, not too bad for the Cult of the Possessed. They made some money, they got some XP, no one died or anything like that. We're ready for another game. In the interest of time, I don't go and do any shopping or anything. So yeah, that was that. Back to Mordheim. Thanks for watching. Leave a comment below if you have any questions, observations, or concerns. I'll see you on the next one.